Alexander Hamilton starts this one with a question. If republics always collapse into chaos, why should anyone believe that the United States can succeed? So in Federalist number 9, Hamilton answers that question with confidence, and he argues that the Constitution doesn't destroy Republican government, it saves it. So he's about to prove that modern design can do what ancient virtue never could. I'm Matt Haskell, I'm a high school history teacher, and we're going through all of the Federalist Papers. We're up to number 9, and we're making our way to 85. So up to this point, the Federalist Papers have been more of a warning siren, right? John Jay warned about division. Hamilton has warned about ambition and rivalry and fear. But now with Federalist number 9, Hamilton, he changes his tone. He begins to explain how the Constitution can actually prevent those dangers and why the critics of Republican government have it all wrong. Now, in the 18th century, republic was almost a dirty word to some thinkers. The ancient republics like Greece and Rome and Florence had all ended in tyranny or civil war. And you had political philosophers like Montesquieu that argued that republics had to stay small because larger ones would inevitably collapse under faction and corruption. The Anti-Federalists used that same argument against the Constitution. They said America was too large to be governed as a republic. So Hamilton, his response, no, not anymore. So Hamilton quotes Montesquieu as a way to turn the argument around. Montesquieu wrote that a Confederate republic, a union of smaller republics, could preserve liberty while gaining strength. And that's exactly what the Constitution proposes. It's not a giant single state that swallows the others. It's a federation. It's a republic of republics. So Hamilton uses Montesquieu's own logic to defend this new system. The genius of the Constitution, from what Hamilton will say, is that it keeps local self-government alive while building national stability. Each state governs itself on local matters. The federal government handles national defense, commerce, peace, and together they form a structure that balances liberty and order. This isn't a betrayal of Republican principles, it's their evolution. So Hamilton once again goes back into some history, and he revisits the failure of some ancient republics like Athens, like Carthage, like Rome. He says that they fell not because people hated liberty, but because they lacked structure to contain ambition and faction. So the new Constitution, Hamilton's going to argue here, is that it has learned from those lessons, the checks and balances, the separation of powers, the federal system. All of these things were designed to stabilize what history had made unstable. It's not that human nature has changed, it's that the design has gotten smarter. And Hamilton is pretty proud of this idea. America isn't repeating history, it's actually rewriting history. He calls the Constitution an improvement on the science of politics. Now, if we think about that, science, he's trying to frame government as a field that can advance through experiment and design. So this is Enlightenment thinking at its peak. It's reason that's applied to politics. And Hamilton lists what he calls the new discoveries in political science. These are principles that make large republics possible. The first one was the regular distribution of power into distinct departments. Then he says we have the introduction of legislative checks and balances. After that, the institution of courts and judges to interpret the law. Then, representation by election. So you have a government of choice, not a government of chance. And then finally, you have a federal structure that divides up sovereignty. And if you have these innovations together, they make it possible for liberty to survive at scale. So this is Hamilton in full Enlightenment mode. He's rational, he's optimistic, and he's almost scientific in his approach. He's telling the world government doesn't have to repeat its mistakes, it can evolve. So the Constitution isn't just a legal document, it's an experiment in progress. And so it becomes an answer to centuries of political pessimism. So in the ancient world, republics were doomed by faction and expansion. But in the modern world, representation and federalism, well, they all fix that. So instead of every citizen fighting over every issue, we elect representatives to deliberate and to compromise. Instead of one fragile city-state, we have 50 united but still distinct. And the scale that once destroyed liberty will now protect it. So after so many essays filled with warnings, this one feels almost like a celebration. It feels celebratory. Hamilton believes America can do something that no republic ever has, and that is combine liberty with longevity. He's writing not as a cynic, but as a builder, a man who believes that reason, not fear, should shape the destiny of nations. So if we tighten all this down into the 4 bullet points like we've been doing, one, we see that his argument is that history shows that republics fall apart. His second point is that critics say that means liberty can't scale from these small republics into large republics. And the third thing is that the Constitution's innovations, the representation, the checks and balances, federalism, all change that math, right? And the fourth thing here is that, therefore, America can succeed where other republics have failed. And so, once again, I've helped summarize your homework for you, right? That's the Federalist number 9 in those 4 bullet points. This essay is more than about political theory. It's about faith. It's faith that human reason can overcome human nature. And that's the lessons, we also have that the lessons of the past don't have to doom the future. Hamilton believes the Constitution is not a gamble, it's progress that's made visible. The reason why Federalist number 9 still matters, why it speaks directly to us today, because we live in an age of skepticism. When people doubt institutions, they fear collapse. Hamilton was facing that same mood. His answer, though, was design, not despair. Good systems, he said, don't deny our flaws, they manage them. And, well, that's how liberty survives. So if we want to take some takeaways from Federalist number 9, we probably got 3 here or so. One would be that the Constitution is not the enemy of small r Republican government. It's actually its evolution. The second thing would be that enlightened design can correct the failures of history. And then thirdly, liberty needs structure, not sentiment. So in kind of wrapping this up, Federalist number 9 is Hamilton's love letter to republicanism reborn. It's his declaration that reason can rescue liberty from chaos. So in his previous ones, he's reached number 9. He's done warning. Now he's in the building process. I'm Matt Hasquin, and this is another one of those things you should know by being alive. If you've enjoyed this Federalist series, keep following along with me. I'm going to go into number 10, and number 10 is a classic. It's one of my favorites. This is where we see James Madison joining the conversation, and James Madison, in my opinion, he writes one of the most famous essays in all of American history. In my top 3. So thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll catch you on the next one.